Want the reward? Do the damn work. Challenge yourself. Inspire change. Choice, not luck. Good afternoon, everybody. This is Todd Crandell from Racing for Recovery with another Ignite Euphoria podcast, and I can't wait to do this one today. I have one awesome Jessica Kaysen on with me today. How are you?
I'm great.
Are you nervous?
I'm a little, but it'll be good.
It'll be good. So before we obviously start talking about Ironman, I want to know, and everybody who's watching this wants to know, why don't you just start with who you are and how we even met in the first place? A little background would be great.
Okay. I am 35 and my oldest is 16, and she was 7 years old when we went to our first meeting in Toledo. And the boyfriend at the time that I was dating was an addict, and we were both just struggling, and we found your group from someone that referred to him, and it helped so many people. I mean, you can go to AA, but then you can go to Al-Anon, and you're not merged. It's not two people together learning how to work together. So our biggest thing was finding a group that would help both of us, but in the same sense. And then also, my daughter was 7, so she could come, and people were so kind, and it was not any, rated R things that were happening in any of the groups where she could sit through all of them. And she is very, any child is a light, I think. So she was treated so kind, and everybody was so helpful to me, even though I was getting a different kind of help through the group. But for me, I didn't self-love, which was my biggest thing. And so that created different black holes for me. You're dating somebody and you have problems and they have problems, and those two things emerge, and it's, not joyful. So group really taught me self-love, unconditional love. And I was in a group, and you were there. I want to say it was Monroe Street. I was at a church. And you came back from an Ironman, and you told group about this experience and how, working out changed your life. And I was currently working out at the time. I was going to Planet Fitness 19 right on Sylvania and Douglas. And so I was like super excited to find other people that love gyms, and I had no idea what Ironman was. And so I was like, if he can do it, I can do it. And then I didn't actually know what it was. So then when I found out what it was, I was like, maybe I can't do it. So 9 years later, we did Ironman on Sunday. And before the event started, I seen you post something about your upcoming Ironmans for the year. And so I was like bursting with joy that you would be at Blue Ridge. And then when you did so well in Chattanooga, I was like, why would he do Blue Ridge? I'm just thinking, like, once you meet that goal, what makes you keep going? So then when I found out you were still going to do Blue Ridge, I was really excited, because for me, that's a very full circle moment. Just really like finding myself in your group through, a person that heard of a person and told a person kind of thing. It was just so crazy that chain got down to me. And then I decided to set a big goal, and I met it, even if it was 9 years later. And then our Sunday was crazy, and we got to be on the same bus. And for me, it was just, sometimes the universe just absolutely lines up, and God knows exactly what he's doing at the exact right time.
Okay. This is awesome. I'm going to dissect this, because you just gave a great overview. Now let's take this kind of piece by piece. Because I'm learning a couple things about you that I didn't necessarily know. So when you first came to Racing for Recovery, you were the support of someone who was battling addiction.
Yes.
Okay. So what was it? What did you learn as a person who was supporting, how to effectively support that person who was battling addiction?
Love was the most important thing that I took from it, because I think when you think support, you're like, I mean, I have a kid. So for me, supporting is like feeding and clothing. And, you know, she's like, hey, mom, I need $5. You're like, okay, cool. But for what? So for me, it was really kind of seeing what I was doing correctly. And I wasn't doing things correctly, as in enabling that person. I mean, there are so many things that I had no idea was happening. I had no idea, you know, that he was stealing money from me, that he was cheating on me. And those are all things I really picked up on after Racing for Recovery, because those people, I mean, somebody smarter than you. So other people in the group really showed me these things, but very kind. They're not like, oh, you're stupid. You know, they're like, hey, dear, maybe you should think about this or consider this. And for me, it's just what I absolutely needed at that time. And it's, I mean, for me, it's love. Love is my biggest thing that I took from Racing for Recovery, because you have no idea what it really is. Like, your parents loved you, and maybe you did have good parents, you didn't. My mom is an addict. So I had one great parent who loved me all the time. And then I had a mom who was an addict who loved me whenever she wanted. And that was unhealthy. So I didn't know. So then when I was dating Brian, I had no idea what real love was or what it looked like. And so to see other people in the group that were there for support, whether it be, you know, another husband, or it could have been a husband or a wife or a mother, they really help you realize that some things aren't love. And passing money out, you know, or, you know, turning an eye when they leave at midnight, also is not love. And letting them continue to get high because, you know, they're sick or whatever that case is. Love is blind, and sometimes you call it love and it probably isn't. So my biggest thing would be love.
This is beautiful. So, and you also mentioned earlier, and I'm going to talk about what your daughter got out of this next, but you briefly mentioned that you were having some, I don't even call it, some self-destructive issues in what capacity. I'm not asking you to get into that unless you want to, but on that level, how did Racing for Recovery help you as an individual, not necessarily as the support person?
Respecting myself, I think maybe I don't know if it's just women or maybe men struggle with that too, but like when there is no self-love, you do things that are promiscuous, to maybe just keep this PG. So because I didn't have self-love, I would, you know, hang out with people, or I would go to the bar and just go home with people. And so for mine, it wasn't an actual drug. It was my own, you know, self-worth, I guess. You kind of like, whoever's going to love me, whatever that looks like. And for me, it was very temporary. So that was the destructive part of me, was just not loving myself like I should have.
This is, again, I knew when I was messaging you about having you on here, and again, we're going to get to the success of your Ironman on Sunday, but there's so many factors that you bring to this that I wanted to talk to you about. And this is another one that you just alluded to. And this is what makes Racing for Recovery so beneficial to people. It's any form of self-destruction. It could
Absolutely.
be food, gambling, whatever. But a lot of people they'll look at us and go, oh, it's all about drug and alcohol addiction. Well, it's not, right?
Right.
Tell me, what do you think your daughter at 6, I think, got out of this coming into it that early?
I'm so glad that you asked that, because she is such a kind soul. And that was something that she always was, like, from birth. And she has a gift of giving and not giving things. She just will give her time, and she cares. And so with Racing for Recovery, she just got to see that all people are the same. It's not a color thing, because, you know, I'm not white. So when you're speaking of everybody being the same, you're talking from the inside out. And she didn't really quite understand, like, the things I went through while being with an addict. But we came home once, and he was fully on the floor just right after shooting up. And that was very hard for the both of us. And my biggest thing was really assessing her, because she was so young. She was 7 years old, and you shouldn't have to see that. But she continued to care for him after that situation. And so it's really just caring. And we met some really, really great people in Racing for Recovery. And I can say a handful that I still am in contact with. And I have moved. I went from Ohio to Virginia. And so with her, it's just seeing somebody for just them, no matter the label or, their past.
I am just sitting here beaming with gratitude of what this has done for your family and a lot of pride for what Racing for Recovery actually does. It blows my mind. And when I met you guys down at the expo at Ironman Virginia, I mean, you briefly said, yeah, this is my daughter. And then you had a grandson, right? That was with you?
That one's mine.
That's yours too. That's your little one. Okay.
16 and 5.
Okay. And I'm looking and I'm like, oh my God, look what this has done because of how it's helped you.
Yeah.
It's mind blowing. And
Yeah.
I heard too that one of our success stories that was with us down at the event, she said that she overheard you guys talking like, I think that's Todd standing over there. And she was cracking
and
up
not
at
only
that.
she was like, I noticed, and she was so little, but she was like, I noticed him and I knew he was somebody I knew, but I didn't know, like she couldn't put her finger on it. I said, I knew instantly. Like there is just there's no, oh, that could be, or that might be, but it's like, if you don't say something, and then she's like, I can't believe you said something. It's like, you kind of have to. For me, it was a big full circle moment. And I cannot absolutely believe, one, that I ran into you Friday. And then Sunday worked out the way it did. And I was sitting next to you on a bus. And so for me, full circle is, I mean, it's absolutely big, but it was absolutely meant to be. So running into you Friday was not a huge surprise.
Well, I want to talk about that because you mentioned, you mentioned God in there. And again, another part of Racing for Recovery, we don't like to label a specific entity, if you will, but whatever you want to call that, God or whoever. Again, there was 2,000 people who were registered for that race, and I just happened to run into you.
I know.
That's something, right?
I mean, the sun goes around the world every day. So it is, people just believe in the universe or whatever it is. But yeah.
That was great. So we're going to come back to that in a second. So let's talk about your mindset when you heard me just describing what Ironman is, where you were in your life at that point, and what ignited you to start pursuing this new lifestyle.
I started working out at Fitness 19, and I just really was just doing it, I think, for an emotion, just to do something for myself. And I didn't really love or care about it. And then when I came to group, everybody's talking about finding something else. And then you were always like working out and doing all these things. And then when you came back from Ironman, I was like, seems like something I can do. But I just feel like it was part of self-love. Like you ditched things for not necessarily Ironman, but you ditched things to better yourself and better your health and better your mind. Well, I wasn't really in a mind place. I wasn't going to go, pray. I wasn't going to go meditate. I wasn't going to do any of those things. And I financially couldn't give myself self-love, which my self-love looks like, going to get my nails done or, maybe getting a haircut. So those are things I couldn't really do, but I could afford $9 a month there. And so I was just like, well, I'll just pour more time. Well, then my 1 hour gym session ended up turning into, 2-a-days where I'd go every day, twice a day for an hour, sometimes an hour and a half, because daycare wasn't more and I could take my daughter. So you doing that was just something that showed me that is something that I can do. And that was physically something I can do. Mentally, it didn't involve, a lot of money. So for me, it just happened to be the right shoe that fit.
Amazing. So let's talk a little bit about what's it like to be a training Ironman mom? What was that process like? And then we'll get into your race on last Sunday.
That's probably not a pretty process. There's a lot that goes on just in my house, and because of COVID, I think it does kind of push things a little bit more. My husband works from home full time. And when I say from home, I mean he's in our basement, which is where I'm currently at. So he is working next to me. So he's down here full time in the day. God bless you.
Excuse
And
me,
then
sorry.
I'm upstairs and trying to get all my, mom stuff done. But then I have to figure out a time that I can work out, but also a time that he can work out. And in the beginning, sometimes you're just doing 30 minutes. And for me, 30 minutes is cake, just go do my 30 minutes and be done. But then you kind of are nasty and you want to shower. So then your 30 minutes turns into an hour. And then I still have to have time for him to work out. So it's really considering everybody's schedule, because everybody has to be happy for our family to work. It works on bad days, but for me, it's just good if I work out, which makes me feel better. And then my husband needs to work out because he works all day. So his joy comes, he gets to work out, release all that work stuff. And then he's 100% person for us after. So trying to figure that schedule out, and then who's going to do what. So if who's going to ride the bike, or who's going to be on the treadmill, or can you go outside, or can you take, our son? So days I do anything from 5 miles and below, he'll get on his bike and ride with me. Things that are higher, my daughter always rides with me. She has, on peak day, I was running a 12-mile. She rides next to me on her bike. So I'm typically not alone. Days that I'm on just the bike, I am by myself, but then it's planning a route where I'm not too far away from the house. I get really anxious just being away from the house that far. I don't feel safe on the road. I'm like terrified if something happens to me, what are going to happen to my kids? So for me, I try to stay safe. So it involves, 4 laps around our neighborhood, which seems a lot like hell, but somebody's got to do it. And then my thing that I battled with all of my training is feeling guilty with putting all this time into me. It's a very selfless thing that you do for yourself. So for me, I'm doing Ironman for me. I'm running it for me. All the training has to be done by me, and my kids take the biggest part from it. My kids miss out on an hour a day from mom or 2 hours a day from mom. So when the only good thing I feel I'm good at is being a mom, and I have to take that time from them, it's very hard for me because they get nothing at the finish line. I get all the adrenaline, I get all the joy, but seeing them there, and it kind of evens itself out for me, but it was a long trip to get there. So the days I'm doing it on my own, I just feel like I'm really taking from my family. Although I'm not saying that, my family's ever like, hey, get it together, Jessica, you can't work out today. That's not what happens. They're very supportive, but that part of me feels guilty, and that I battled my whole training. And so it was really hard. And then, my son is 5. So having a 5-year-old wait 8.5 hours for you is a lot. It is selfless for him. He has no idea what he's doing. He thinks his mom's crazy. He thinks it's hot outside. And my daughter was emotionally invested. And so Sunday was a whirlwind for me, and seeing my daughter cry for me is very hard, but it's not like a bad cry. It's just, you see really how much they care. And that whole journey, I felt guilty for my time and not spending with them. But then Sunday, I realized that they are in it. They are invested. So I felt a lot better Sunday about all the time I felt guilty for.
The stuff that you are saying, I'm going to highlight some words that are applicable to what Racing for Recovery encompasses. Obviously, we're talking about family. You mentioned balance. I hear commitment, dedication, self-care, passion, opportunity to send a very healthy, productive message to your kids. So yep. I know as parents, when we're doing this, we think we're taking, but we're actually giving, right? And I'll tell you some of the things that I made a lot of mistakes in that I hear you correcting right now. I got into Ironman and just went crazy with it because it was more than just a personal thing. It was turning into a business thing for me. But my family suffered a lot from it. And I learned a very difficult lesson in that you have already learned on your first one, which is great. So in addition to everything, those words that I described in there, let's talk about what you think you've taught your family during your Ironman training. What lessons do you think you've given your kids?
Commitment. Consistency is one thing, but consistency doesn't mean every day. And I want to be very clear on the consistency thing, because I think every morning you get up, maybe you take a vitamin. Maybe you don't. I have to. So get up and you take a vitamin, and say you take one Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, life gets crazy. You just slip out the door. You don't have the vitamin with you. You don't take it. But then you can't take it in the evening because you're off track, or it only allows you to take it in the AM. But then Friday you take it, and then Saturday you take it, and then Sunday you miss again. Consistency may not be every day, but even though I failed on Thursday, I still took it Friday. And then Sunday I failed, and I still took it Monday. So consistency for me to show them, even if I fall off or I skip a workout because I hurt so bad, which is a battle I had. My body just hates everything. So I think there's days I just have to say, well, I can't do 12 miles today, so I'm going to do 6. Or I know I can't do 8, so I'm going to take another rest day, and then I will swim and run tomorrow. Like me, it's just kind of shuffling things around, but it's consistent, even though it's not daily. And if I do not do it that day that I said I was going to, I'm still going to be consistent in my training. So I think with, the kids seeing these things, it's not an everyday thing, or, my commitment was long and the journey is long. But it's, every day, a rest day is consistent because your body needs it. So I think it's just showing them, it's showing up, whatever that day looks like. Like yesterday, I did nothing all day. Legitimately, my husband comes upstairs from work and he's like, "Oh, what are you doing today?" I'm like, "Nothing. I told you I was doing nothing all day." He's like, "It's got to be nice. Somebody's got to do it." My kids did nothing all day. I'm okay with it. Is it hard? Yeah, we got a lot of stuff to do today, but I don't care. We all did nothing yesterday. Beautiful. And that was something that you needed. We've been go since last Thursday. So it was needed. Your body needs stuff. And that was part of training.
Absolutely. Okay. So now, God, this is so much fun talking to you. So let's talk about race day. And again, we have another coincidence with me seeing you guys sitting on the curb waiting on race morning. So let's talk about race morning and how we rendezvoused again. Okay, so Saturday we were trying to figure out the smartest thing to get to race on Sunday. So I told Casey, I'm like, message Todd, see what's up. Is he getting dumped off? Are we doing an Uber Sitchy? Like, what's going on? 3:30 is real early. Like, we need to figure it out. And we had the kids that day, so his sister was staying with the kids. She drove also to Virginia so that she could be with the kids and then help us. And so we wanted them to go down a separate time than 3:30. So we were trying to just make everything work, which is, not what your brain wants to do race weekend, let alone, Saturday. So we were like, we couldn't do it. You wanted to leave at 4, and I just didn't feel safe because I want to be prepared. I want to be in a totally relaxed situation. I don't want to be scurrying around. I don't have to wait for a porta-john. So we shot for 3:30, and we get down there, and Krista dropped us off in the corner. I'm like, cool, take a selfie, see you later. We did not have phones. And so we got 25 yards maybe, and we passed somebody who had wetsuits, and Casey's like, we forgot our wetsuits. I was like, we forgot our wetsuits, and total panic happens. The temperatures weren't terrible, so it would be fine. And Casey's a great swimmer. I'm an okay swimmer, but my daughter said, I would feel really safe if you wore your wetsuit. And it was like 76 degrees during the week. And so we talked about it, and she goes, I really would feel safer if you wore your wetsuit. I really want you to wear your wetsuit. And then without them being able to go to the cove, I feel like if I could give her that one peace of mind that I'm not going to drown, that it's simple. I could throw a wetsuit on, it's not a big of a deal. I'm not qualifying. I'm not doing this, to win gold. I'm just doing this to cross that finish line. So I had set, and I promised her I'd wear that wetsuit. So the wetsuit Sunday was big for me, not because I needed it, because I had to have it, because I told her I would wear it. So then we had no phones, total panic. Like, you don't have your phone. I didn't have no numbers. I didn't have anything. The only number I have memorized is my husband's, who was standing next to me. So then a couple passed that were participants. I'm like, hey, do you guys have phone? They're like, no phones. Well, I know that. So then a volunteer was not letting traffic in. I was like, hey, do you have a phone I can use? And he's like, kind of sketched about it. He was like,
yeah, but you have to walk with me while you talk on it. Like, okay, I don't even know how I'm going to call somebody. So he goes all the way down to the road. I walk with him. I walk all the way back. And I told Casey, I'm like, there's just no other way. I don't know what to do. And the place where he's staying was only 3 miles away. I'm like, we could walk there and make the late bus. Total panic. Well, we ended up, the guy let us get Facebook on his phone, and he messaged his sister, and then she called that phone, and then she didn't know how to get back. So she got lost getting back. And so we were sitting on the corner, on the curb, physically sitting on the curb, and you just get dumped off. And I was just like, oh my gosh, that's Todd. Casey's like, where? I'm like, right there, getting dumped off. So it was a morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, just running into somebody on the curb. And then we, jumped on the bus, and the bus ride was longer than I expected, I think, or really planned for. And mentally, I think I was already like, is this really happening at 3:30? I don't think the wheels were fully turning. And I'm like, do I have everything? Do I have all my food? And then I just kind of felt okay. And then I could hear people talking about it. And I think that's when I kind of was like, I feel okay. I should be panicking, right? And I felt way too okay. Like, I had my wetsuit, like, I had all my stuff organized. I knew I was prepared, like crazy calm. And Casey's like, he's always super cool about stuff. So I was like, I'm not going to, take any of his vibes, because he's always way too calm. So then I'm like, oh, and then you were sitting next to me. So I was like, like, how do you feel? What's going on? You're like, I'm always nervous. I'm like, well, I'm not. This can't be normal.
Right. So what?
So yeah,
I'm reflecting on watching you guys sitting there and everything. So I want to talk about your race on Sunday, because, and let me back up a second. One of the reasons, well, the main reason I wanted you on today is I was so inspired by not only what you did, but with Casey, you guys as a married couple, as Ironman people, as parents. I was so inspired by meeting you guys and watching what you both went through. But for you specifically, Jessica, and you're going to start talking about your race day, I can't tell you the inspiration that I got from that I will use for the rest of not only my life, but the rest of definitely for doing future Ironmans. What you went through on Sunday will catapult me through every other race that I do. So I want you to describe I want you to describe your race for you, and then I'd just like to say like how it helped me and how I can make this help a lot of other people.
So I signed up. Well, when we first heard about Blue Ridge, it was in 2019 is when it was supposed to first go, and it was on my husband and I's anniversary. And we got married at a race, a 5K race. So I was like, cool, like, let's do Ironman together. And he knows what triathlons are. And so he was like, yeah, okay. And then I signed us up, and he's like, oh, you signed us up? I'm like, yeah, like, we're doing this, we're going. So he fully committed, he jumped in. And like I told you, it's a lot of balance, who's going to be with the kids, who's not. And then, making sure that you can feed a 200-pound man, and then feed him through training when you're losing all these calories. And then the same for me. So it's just kind of like when you're with your partner, you're just doing life. And we have always just done life. And as you've seen, we took our kids. They go with us everywhere. There's races that we don't have an adult to sit with our kids. My daughter's 16. And sometimes, that means staying right at the finish line where there's officers or there's adults, and she, helps, and she doesn't move a muscle. And so it is, for us, it's a family affair. Wow. It's a lot of work for us, just like, as a family, to get it together. So Sunday, I'm feeling very good about the swim. Very good. So I seen the water. I'm like, this will be easy. There's, it's not open. There's going to be no crazy boats. There's going to be no waves. The temperature is perfect. The sun is out. And as I get closer, I'm like, this is really happening. And I put my earplug in, and I get to like the dock part, and I look over to the lady next to me. I'm like, I'm having a moment. Like, this is really Ironman. I am really running Ironman, like already emotional, haven't even started. My timer's not even going yet. She's like, oh, honey, you're doing Ironman. And I'm like, yeah, but who signed us up for it? Like, I started to really question, like, what am I doing? Like, why am I doing it? Scared to death instantly. And I'm like walking up to the chip timer thing. And the guy's like, the thing buzzes and I'm still standing there looking at these people jumping in. He's like, jump. And I'm like, okay. So I jump in and instantly panicked. Like,
oh my God.
I did all that training for nothing. I didn't know what I was doing. Like, how do you swim? This water feels great. And I don't know. I just went into just an absolute I don't know mode. So I started swimming, and you train to swim with your head in the water, you know, like an actual swimmer. I did not do that my whole swim. So I swam with overarms with my head out of the water the whole time,
Wow.
which is fine. My body didn't hurt from it. I felt really good, but I knew time-wise, I wasn't making the smartest choice, but I was making the safest choice for me. So Ironman has never been about time for me. It was starting it and finishing it. I don't care how you get there. I don't care. For me, I know I'm not going to be first in any race I've ever ran. And I've ran a few. So I'm always like, it don't matter how you get there, just get there. I'm swimming, and people are swimming on top of me, and I got elbowed in the back of my head. I got super thirsty, drank some water, probably a lot of pee. And as I get to that corner buoy to turn, I'm like, this is so far. Like, how am I going to do this? When training, you swim that far. You swim more than what we swam on Sunday. I'm like, there's no way I swam that. Mind you, at the pool, my daughter sat and counted every lap I swam. She sits there, tallies all my laps.
Wow.
So I knew that I really have swam that far. I'm like, man, I'm not going to make it. And at one point, I must have been swimming really slow because a kayaker guy comes close and he's like, do you need help? I said, no, I've gotten this far. I'm going to do it. He's like, okay. And I'm just like side floating, trying to get to the end. And I finally get to the end, and lady's like, you're good. I'm like, I did it. And she's like, you did it. I'm like, you see in the pictures, I'm feeling my body. It's like a full out of body experience. Like, I had already started, I committed, I'm in this full out of body experience. In my Ironman pictures, I'm feeling my body, like making sure we're all here, got my limbs, got my sea legs, because it felt really weird to walk. I'm walking, I turn around the thing, and I look at at the beginning, all of those racks were filled with bikes. When I looked, there was maybe 30. I'm like, I got to be like the last person in here. I'm like, it don't matter. I'm going to do it. I'm going to get on the bike and just go. I get on the bike, and they're walking me. I'm like, where am I going to ride? Like, I had to have walked a half mile before I could clip in. I'm like, is this coming soon? Are we going to go? We get to the clip in part. He's like, you're going. I'm like, I'm going. He goes, yeah. He's like, 56 miles. I didn't ride 56 miles in my training. So I'm instantly like, this body ain't going 56 miles. I'm like, okay, whatever. We'll do this. So I get to riding. It felt so good. Like, everything's smooth. The weather's perfect. The conditions are good. The road's happy. I passed a couple people, felt like a total badass because I don't ever pass anybody. And so then I like get into this very nice wooded area, and I instantly was like, oh, this is where it's going to happen. This is where the climb's happening, like waiting to see people like heaved over on the side of the road. Did not. So then I'm thinking like, okay, well, if people aren't broke down or people aren't walking or whatever, I could do this. 2 miles into that climb, I was like, I can't do this. Ain't happening. Jessica ain't doing it. She ain't finishing. It's so weird to have a full conversation with yourself and like you can't do it. Yes, you can. No, you can't. So I'm like, I'll just unclip. I'm going to have to unclip. I'm going to walk. I can walk what I can, rest a little. Well, then as I unclip and I start walking, I'm like, how am I going to rest? I have time. I look down on my watch. It's at 10%. I'm like, my watch is going to die. I don't know how far I've went, and I have to get there on time. I knew I had to get into the bike and transition area at 1 p.m. I had to. There was no way I was going to make the cut if I didn't. I start walking, like power walking. I'm 5'3", very short legs. So I'm like, I just got to do this. I'm walking, and a lady passes me on her bike. She's going so slow, and I'm thinking like, she had to have walked, right? Or I don't know. So I see her like weaving on the road, just on our side of the road, like weaving. I'm watching her. I'm like, I don't know why she would be doing that. So when I get to a point, I walked 3 miles. I know because I got on at a mile marker. So I knew where I was getting on at. I'm like, okay, I get on. the hills were not done, which I thought they were.
Yeah.
So I decided I was going to try her weaving thing because she never got off her bike. So I ended up learning, I don't even know if it's correct, that I could do that. And I got through the rest of the hill ride. But while on the bike, I seen somebody else walking behind me, and I panicked because if I'm walking and they're walking, like that's got to be the only person behind me, right? So I started thinking like, I have to be the last person out here. I'm like, I don't care. So on the bike, after I get on, I tell myself, if I finish Blue Ridge, I will not do North Carolina. I just can't. I just want to get from here to here. I started it. I want to finish it. So I was like, all you got to do is finish, Jessica, in 8 hours, 8.5 hours. All you got to do. You don't have to do North Carolina. So in my mind, my reward was finishing Blue Ridge to not do North Carolina. I was talking myself out of a race I already committed to. And it's just kind of weird the way your mind, starts fighting everything. And then while I was on the bike, I'm like, you can do this. And I realized my body didn't hurt. I was like, things feel good. My feet hurt really bad, which I didn't know until later how bad I hurt them. But my neck felt good. My hips felt good. Everything felt super good. I wasn't thirsty. I wasn't hungry. I just felt super good. And then I don't even know how far I got. A guy in a van passes me and goes, you have 30 minutes to get a quarter of a mile. I go, quarter of a mile is right there. 30 minutes. I know I can do it. I was already on my bike at that point. So then I get to the station, that I hit that mark, that bike cutoff, and I go, did I make the mark? And he goes, yeah, you made the cutoff. Just keep going. Just go, go, go. I'm like, okay, cool. Start riding. Well, I passed a guy going downhill, and then it started to kind of get straighter as we got into Roanoke. You could hear the city stuff. And then he came and passed me. And then I knew you got to do something, Jessica. I couldn't. My feet hurt so bad. They just felt hot, and I've never had that feeling in my feet before. And they hurt like they were bleeding. So I'm like, I just got to ride. And I had no idea how far I was, where I was at, because my watch died. So I was fully lost. Well, then I started seeing houses and cars and people. I'm like, cool, we've got to be close. Then I seen the 45-mile mile marker. I'm like, oh my gosh, so close. 10 miles, Jessica, you can do this. And then I'm like, well, how far is this? And I seen a person. I'm like, what time is it? How far am I? And people are so kind, but then I knew that I was cutting it close for time-wise. So I finally get to the 50-mile marker. I seen it and I started crying. I don't even know why. I'm a very, my endorphins are very emotional because I don't ever think I can do things. And then I do it and you train for it. And it's a very overwhelming experience. But then I missed my kids get up that morning. I didn't get them dressed. I didn't feed them. I trusted somebody to get them there. They had to carry chairs. They had a cooler. I realized that I missed my kids. And so I'm like, I wonder what they were doing. I wonder how well they did this morning. And so it was just kind of a weird experience for me. And then I seen the city, the big Iron Man black thing. I could see it and I could hear the music pumping. I'm like, yeah, I'm almost there. And I pull into where the corral's at. And there my kids are right there. Video, megaphone, you name it, yelling, go mom, go mom. I'm like, this is I'm doing it. I said, all I got to do is one more thing. I'm at 2 of the 3 things down. The lady's like, you got to slow down, get onto your bike. I'm like, okay. So I went over, gave him a kiss. I go and get my bike on the rack. And I looked at the lady and I said, hey, what time is it? She goes, it's 1:20. And instantly I clicked. I said, I had to make it in by 1. I knew then that I was already DNF'd. I knew I wasn't going to make the time. I knew I was already unofficial. I'm actually surprised they let me go from the bike there because they were stopping people. So I'm like, I don't care. I'm going to keep doing it. I had my bar. I took my salt. I got my shoes changed and I stand up and I look at the lady and I say, what time is it? And she's like, it's 1:26. I'm like, okay, I'm going out. I'm doing this. She goes, you're doing this. I go out and there, my chip beeps and the kids walk with me, until I got onto the trail. And my daughter's like, are you doing okay? And I said, my feet hurt so bad. I have no idea what's wrong with them. Something's wrong. She's like, just keep going. I said, all I got to do is a half marathon. That's all I got to do. And for me, I love running. That is what I first started doing in high school. I never used to work out. So running was life. And then I started working out, but I still ran. So the biking and the swimming part was very new to me, mostly swimming, because once you ride a bike, you know how to ride a bike. But the running is what I love. And so for it being the end thing, it was like, this is it. This is me. This is what I do. This is what I love. And I'm always so, like, I run with a smile. I love running. So then I tried to run and I couldn't do it. My feet hurt so bad. And I ended up dry heaving and I threw up within that first mile. I'm like, cool, I got that out of my system. I'm going to roll. Nope. It didn't matter what I told myself or my body. It just wasn't happening. You know, people are hot. They're just dying. My feet would not allow me to run. My body felt amazing. Like, my body shouldn't have felt that good. And I just kept walking. I go, I don't care. I'm going to walk. If I have to walk 13 miles, I'm going to walk 13 miles. I'm just going to walk. So I passed my first tent. I said, hey, do you know what mile marker this is? Can you tell me what time it is? She's like, it's two something, she said, or 1:45. And I go, okay, in my head, I'm trying to add the math up. I just got to make 3:20. I got to make the 8 mile marker by 3:20. I got to go, let me see, how far am I? She goes, you're at the 7 mile or the 8 mile tent if it's your second time around. I go, oh, this is only my first time around. She goes, you're like a mile in. And my math mind is going crazy. I'm like 10, well, I can run a 9-minute, 10-minute mile. Can I walk a mile in? I don't know. Like you walk to enjoy. I'm like trying to power walk with just my heels because my feet hurt so bad. So then I just kept walking. And as I got to each station and people are like, yay, one more lap. And you don't want to say that you have failed. You don't want to verbally say it. So I think I got to like the third tent and a guy next to me stopped. He was taking his water and all this stuff in. He goes, we can do this one more lap. I said, it might be one more lap for you, but I just started. And I know I'm not making that cut. So I'm already out. And he goes, it don't matter. Just keep going. You might be here all night, but you just got to keep going. I'm like, I guess so. I'll just keep going. And I knew I was going to keep walking and whatever that looked like. I got to a camera guy and I was walking. Like my head was down. I just was like, I knew, like you feel failure and it starts to just bring you down. Like your whole body, your face, everything. Like it takes you down. Like you physically look like you're going to melt. And the camera guy was like, at least you can do is smile. And I go, I just didn't complete. I'm not going to make the cut. And he was walking with me and he goes, but you're here. He goes, nobody is here and thinks they're going to be here, but you've done it. And he gives me this whole pep talk on it didn't matter if I finished or I didn't finish. Like I already completed 2 events. So I'm like, okay. And I felt like I'll just keep walking. And then I get to the last station. I think it was like in the trail. It was like not in the city. It was like at the end of the trail when I made my turn. And I had this lady, she had 2 kids with her and they were just like, you can do this. Like you're a superwoman, just yelling all these positive affirmations, which are valuable to me. Like that's how I train when I'm out on the road is very positive affirmations. Like you can do this, Jessica, your legs feel good. Your mind feels good because everything's mental for me. So your body's going to do what it tells you to do. So when I heard those little girls say that, I realized that I missed my kids. And I realized that they're going to be there at the end of the finish line and they're going to see me fail, whatever that looks like when I get there. So I cross this bridge and I see the cutoff, the little 4-wheeler and the cutoff, the lady that made the cutoff. So I'm like, I knew it. If she was the cutoff and it's my first time around, there's no way. So I get to the T where you pass that loop or you end in the finish line. The same guy that let us use his phone that morning is the guy who said, is this your first lap or your second lap? I'm already a mess. Like, already a mess. I knew what he was going to say. And he goes, you got to go that way. And I said, this is my first lap. I got to do one more. He goes, you didn't make the time, honey. He goes, you have to go down there, though. And I said, I stopped. And I go, what do you mean I have to go down there? I didn't make it. He goes, you made it. You got to go down there, even if you didn't make the time cutoff. And I was like, okay. And he's like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, like I knew my body was fine. So when people keep asking me if I'm okay, my body is fine, yep. I think. So then I go down and as I get that corner, the chute's there. And I knew my kids were going to be there waiting for me. So you know what does every good parent do? They put on face because they don't want their kids to see that they're hurting or they're sad or whatever that looks like. So I'm going down and the guy says my name wrong. He calls me Jennifer, and I'm like, cool, my kids didn't hear it. I don't see them. So I get past the big black thing, and my chip buzzes, and I look over, my daughter's there, and she's like, Mom, I missed it. I didn't hear him call your name. I didn't get the picture. Go back. I'm like, Annalise, I didn't do it. I didn't qualify. Like, my time didn't qualify. I got DNF'd, and I'm like having this conversation across, ways with her, and I just lose it. Like, I don't know why they would make me go down there if I didn't finish. Like, I didn't finish. Why would you make me experience something that's for winners, So I get down, and I get to the hat and the medal exchange. The lady gives me my medal wrapped up in a hat, and she hands it to me. She goes, here's your hat and your medal. And I said, I didn't finish. I'll just give me the hat. And she goes, no, this medal's yours. You earned it. And I think it like maybe clicked somewhere where, the medal sometimes does feel like your reward, because that's what you've always done a race for. You start it and you finish it and you get the medal or whatever. So I was 30 minutes short of the 8.5-hour cut. So I was out there for 9 hours. 9 hours. I was still walking, talking, breathing. My body felt great. And I was 6.1 miles short of completing it. So I get to the very end of the shoot, and there my daughter is, just bawling. She's crying. She's like, Mom, I'm so sorry. She like gives me this big hug, and I'm like, what are you sorry for? Like, you did nothing. And I just felt like, my kids sacrificed so much time, and I couldn't even do what I set out to do. So it was like constantly just thinking about it. And as soon as I got out, then my husband was there, and he gave me a hug, and I'm like, it's okay. Like, it's okay, because I swam a mile in an hour, not correctly. So I trained for something and did it incorrectly. I biked 56 miles. Yep. I biked on my own by myself, no radio, no support, on a road, 56 miles. So I was like proud of myself for doing that. The running, I know I can run. Something just happened, and it was just the way it was supposed to be. For me, I just took it as a really big piece of humble pie, because I love running, and everybody's like, oh, how are you going to do this? And I'm like, all I got to do is get to the run, because then I can run. That's easy to me. And then for some reason I couldn't run. Like, I shouldn't have said that before, because that was really stupid of me to do. But everybody knows the running, it was something I look forward to doing. So for me, it was really, I should have loved each event equally, and not maybe boasted on the part that I looked forward to as part of that little humble pie I had to take on Sunday. And my husband is really sad. He did so good, and I hated that it was like a poor me situation, because he did so good. Like, we both did it, and that is really hard to, see where yourself's at. He was looking for shade. He was really hot. He doesn't do well in the heat. He was sunburnt. And then, I don't finish, and he runs over, and I'm like, no, like, so proud of him, emotionally proud of him. It's very hard to do. And he sat and played with our son while waiting for me forever, because he finished around, 6 hours. So it was just hard, I think, to see the whole family be brought down by just like, me not really qualifying for time. But I just kept saying, like, it's fine. I did what I could do, and that's what I could do. And I've never ran a race and not finished in time, like, ever. I've been running since 2001. I started doing road races just casually and for fun. I don't do it, for anything. I just really enjoy it. I like the hardware. So in a couple of, I was 18 when I got out of high school, and I started running, and you just collect medals. So in that time till 35, and this is my first time failing, it's just something that needed to happen. And I feel good about it. I was very emotional because of it, but I think fail maybe is not the best way to describe, what I did, because either way I did train for it. I just am slow, and that's just something I have to accept. And because I didn't finish in time officially, I will be doing North Carolina, and I was kind of like bummed about it, because it's so much training and so much time. I wasn't sure that I was going to be able to, and my body is having issues. So I see a chiropractor every 2 weeks. And he told me that he would keep me healthy until October. So I kind of just wanted to stay healthy for life. So I was like, maybe I should skip October. So when I didn't finish, I was like, that's fine. I have October. I was sitting on the sidewalk waiting for Krista to come pick us up because she parked so far away. And as I'm sitting there, this lady's like, you know, how did you like it? And this and that. She's just really sweet, chatting with me, and she's done multiples. And I was like, I didn't love it. My body feels great. I'm kind of bummed about the hills. And she was so positive. She's like, nobody could have prepared for those hills. She's like, no machine, no life. Like, you would have had to have come here and train on those hills. She goes, it was brutal for everybody. She's like, you think you're the only person that walks? She said, I seen grown men on tri-bikes walking. And I'm like, okay. And I'm just thinking, like, maybe she's trying to be nice because she was feeling my, like, bummer kind of vibe. And then I was like, my husband and I are doing North Carolina. And she, like, just snapped. She's like, you are? And I was like, yeah. She's like, you're going to love it. You're going to thrive. She's like, North Carolina is great. She's like, you're going to crush it. You're going to kill it. Like, just went crazy. And I was like, okay. And I meet up with them. My husband did everything in the Jeep, and we're in the, like, getting ready to leave. And I'm like, we're going to do good in North Carolina. I'm going to finish. I'm going to do it. And instantly I was like, today meant nothing. Like, it's just my next step to starting and finishing in North Carolina.
You didn't fail. You just didn't succeed yet. That's a different mindset. And you learn, you're going to learn from all the things in Virginia to make you finish in Carolina. So that's good.
8.5 hours is a long time, but yeah, I mean, I definitely didn't fail because I'm still shocked I rode a bicycle for 56 miles, but I just didn't do it in the time frame. So there's people, I'm sure, that did swim, bike, and run and didn't make the cut, and they did the whole thing. I did get half of the run. So I most certainly did not do that. There, was a plethora of people that didn't make it, and they did all 3 of them fully. So that's, a hard pill to swallow, but I feel really good. My body feels good. I took this whole week off, so it's a full recharge and reset for me. But by, Sunday, I just kept telling my husband, like, the bike was so hard, like, so hard. And I love running. I know I can run. I know I can do it. So it turned into something very positive so fast.
The thing
and I
that
just took the failure part out, because you want to recap. Monday comes along and people Sunday are messaging you and texting you because the support is so much bigger than I thought it was for me. And so I wanted to touch base with all those people and thank them. And so then on Monday, I just wanted to write, like, a big thank you. And it wasn't a fail. It just happened the way it happened. And so I'm, like, on the road, and you fell off the horse, you just got to get back on. So that's where I feel I'm at right now. That's
why I was inspired by what you carried on with. I wasn't inspired about the not finishing. I was inspired about how you carried on despite knowing you weren't going to officially do it. I think that is such a positive message for yourself, for your husband, for your kids, for other Ironman athletes, for people in general. That's why I wanted to talk to you today. It's not about the official finish. It's what you did to even get to the starting line and how you persevered all day.
I think I'd rather be somebody who didn't qualify for time than a quitter. Like, if I would have stopped between the bike and on the run, I would have been like, oh, she quit. Or if I was on the run, when I was throwing up in some stranger's yard, like a quitter, like put my hand up. Hey, when they come around, the people are in the vans, like, hey, I'm out. Like, I didn't want to be a quitter. Like, I can get disqualified. I'll be the last person. You can swoop me up in that little shovel thing that you're doing, whatever it is, but I wasn't going to quit because, like, that would be terrible for me. Like I was saying, the working out thing, like, if you miss a day, you don't have to quit your whole diet or whatever your track you're on. You just kind of, like, get back on and do it the next day, because everybody's not great all the time. I don't care what phase of life you're in. So for me, it was the whole not quitting thing.
It's beautiful.
So I don't know. It's good.
It's good.
For my soul.
I'm so glad you came on and shared your story with everybody today. And again, I appreciate everything you did because it inspired me, and I know people that watch this are going to be inspired by it. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you for seeing me. The full circle is so real, and I am so grateful for you. You just are an absolute shining star. And so I do thank you so much. And my husband looks forward to, following you and seeing all your great successes. And I am so, so happy that you took the time to see us and talk to us while, in Virginia, even if it was a short period of time, and just really reaching out. It's not just a face for you. It is a genuine care for others. So I do appreciate that.
Wow. I'm proud of you. And
thank you.
When is Carolina? What day is it again?
October 23rd in Wilmington.
Okay, that's right after some other things I'm doing. If I'm not going to fully say I'm going to come down there and do it, but I would love to be there again with you guys and watch you finish that. I want to see that.
He's doing a full in September.
Well, if he can do that, then I can come down there and do another one, right? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I will talk to you guys off the air about some stuff, Yeah. But thanks for coming on today, Jessica. It was an honor to talk to you.
Thank you for considering me. That's so kind of you.
All good. Bye, guys. See ya. That was one riveting, inspirational story. Thanks for joining us on another episode of Ignite Euphoria. Check out racingforrecovery.org. Check out the Racing for Recovery YouTube page for more success stories. And if you or a loved one is battling self-harm in any capacity, please reach out to us at 419-824-8462. Until next time, take care of yourselves.